Hey guys, good morning. It is the middle of October, and so I thought it'd be a really great time to do our October garden tour. Now is the time where our summer garden is really coming to an end. Most of the summer stuff is out at this point and cleaned up. We have a few stragglers like peppers and things like that that I'll show you. And it's really just been gearing up for fall. Now at this point, we should have fall stuff planted, but I don't. So that'll be something I'm working on in the next like couple weeks here coming up. But it's coming. I have a few starts, so now it will be the time that that stuff is actually coming out. It's a little late for our zone, but that's okay. We have a little bit of leeway because our garden year is so long. We basically have our first frost usually around Thanksgiving or like one of the first couple weeks of December. So we still have a lot of time here in California in zone 9. I also have just, little harvest basket out here for a few things that I see already. I did come out here and harvest a few things a couple days ago, so there might not be that much. The garden is definitely slowing down, which is kind of nice. So yeah, let me show you what our garden looks like in October before we have all of our fall stuff in. So right now I'm on our patio and there's not really much to show up here, but this is usually where we start. And so I just want to kind of give you an update on where these things are super quick. All right, so this is our strawberry green stalk. They're doing okay, they're hanging on here and not much to report. I do want to fill the rest of these empty pockets here in this green stalk. I might do some with flowers for the winter time. I might do some with like different herbs and stuff like that. But I just want to make better use of this green stalk here until we get more strawberries in it in the springtime. So this is our blackberry hedge. We got a lot of fruit off of this year, and there's not much going on right now because it's not season for it, but pretty soon here, maybe like a month or so, we're gonna come and trim all of this down and get it ready to grow again for the next year. You can see it's grown all the way out here. Then we have a couple pots over here that we rooted some of the ends in, so we're hoping to get more blackberry plants over there. And then this is a second green stalk. This whole thing is going to be planted out in the next like week or so. And then this is just a quick look at my starts for fall. I mean, they're not doing super well. They started off really strong, and then there was one day I forgot to water them and you can see here there's some like sun damage. One day I forgot to bring them back in from hardening them off, and then there's now holes in them, so I'm gonna have to check all of these for little caterpillars before I plant them. I've definitely been seeing a cabbage moth flying around over here, so I have to check all of these, but they're doing okay. We have two different kinds of bok choy here. There's different like cabbages and things like that. What is this? Cauliflowers, all sorts of stuff. There's a bunch of snapdragons that I'm going to put in. Funny enough, there's like tomatoes and stuff that volunteered out of the soil and they're actually really healthy. They're not going to make it, but they're very beautiful plants. And then over here we have like some chards and stuff like that. And then a bunch of calendula flowers that I'm going to put out. So again, these aren't the best looking starts I've ever had. They started off that way. It started off really promising. Seed starting is one of those things where I'm not very good at it yet. So it's something that I've been working on in the last 4 years that I've been gardening. At least the last 3 gardens, I've grown the majority of the garden from seed. Last year, I only bought like 2 plants, which was pretty amazing. So I think that if anything, I show this, even though it's really embarrassing and I don't like them and I don't want to show them, I think it's important to show them because I think it's really encouraging for people to know that you can start a beautiful, big, really productive garden and have your starts not look very good in the beginning or not have them be very, you know, perfect or beautiful or whatever. So you can still grow a lot of plants, you can still get a lot of food, you can still have something that ends up really beautiful. And it's just being willing to start and kind of have it be ugly, which is really hard for me, especially showing it. I don't like to do what I think of as failing and then fail in front of people, but that's part of what I'm doing here. That's part of what I've committed to is showing my real process and showing my real learning. And you know, it's going to be pretty cool to look back on a couple years. Hopefully my seed starts look amazing, and I'll be able to look back on this and see like, oh yeah, that was where I started and I worked really hard on this, and I can see that I got better every year. So I hope that that's encouraging to you too, to see that, you know, it doesn't have to be all beautiful to still be really, really good. Speaking of things that are not perfect, so this is our herb bed. We have some sage here that's, you know, overall rocking and rolling. It's the end of the season for it. It's still recovering from the heat and stuff like that, but it smells really good. I wish you could smell this. This is a really healthy plant. And then we have some thyme over here. We have some green onions that we actually used some of this yesterday to make green onion pancakes, which I love. And then, you know, we have some that we need to take out. There's a little rosemary back there. There's a dead mint right there. And I'm going to come in here and sow like some cilantro and dill and stuff like that for our fall and winter garden. All right, next up are our trees. So we have a apricot tree and a peach tree. Again, nothing really to report here. We're just waiting for the leaves to fall off of both of these. And then what we're gonna do over the winter time is we're gonna treat the peach tree. We've been waiting all year for this, but we're finally gonna treat it with some copper fungicide because we got leaf curl early on in the season. And in the springtime, when you actually get the leaves and you notice the leaf curl, it's kind of too late, is what we were told. What we're going to do, we've been waiting all year for this, is we are going to finally get to treat this tree. And the schedule that we were told was like Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's, and then one more time before, you know, it blooms and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk to a couple of the master gardeners that are local to us again. They were the ones that helped us out the first time. And so we're going to talk to them again and just make sure that we're doing this right. We also got a contact from an arborist, and so we might actually talk to them also and just see what we should do. The tree still made it through the year, which is really great, and we got a ton of fruit off of it, but we are hoping to have a much healthier tree next year. Here's our grape arch, which was majestic, and it just had a ton of grapes on it that we never actually got to, so let me show you that. You can see all these grapes in here that we never did anything with. So it was kind of a bummer, but you know, we just got overwhelmed with all of the life changes and things this year. So what we're gonna do with this is pretty soon here, I think around the same time as the blackberries, maybe a little bit later, we're gonna come in, we are going to actually prune all of these grapevines on this side down pretty low here, and then allow for all new growth to come up over the year. That's exactly what we did last year, and it worked really well. Because we didn't know how to prune it, we left we pruned some of the vines down there, and then we pruned some, we just kind of left them long. And I think what we found out is we can prune all of them low. I have to double check with Andrew because this was his project, but we are going to be able to have awesome brand new grapes next year with just a little bit of pruning. So they're really easy. I mean, we've done next to nothing with this. The biggest part that we did this year was actually putting them on the panel, and that really wasn't very hard. And so, yeah, next year is going to be a breeze, and hopefully we actually get to use some of those grapes. This is something I realize I always forget to show. This is a Meyer lemon tree. We brought it with us. It was in a pot for the last couple years. We planted it at the beginning of this year. And I always forget to show it because it's not really doing anything. We're just kind of letting it kind of acclimate. But it's still, you know, pretty healthy. It looks better than it has any previous year in the pots. And so hopefully we'll start to get lemons off of it next year. But yeah, I always forget to show this tree. Next up, we have what we think is a navel orange tree. We've had a couple of the fruits split in the last couple weeks, and so we took a bunch off, but they're a pretty good size now. We do think that we should probably thin this out a little bit more, but because there's a lot of fruit on here. I think I saw a split one. Did we take it out? Oh yeah. So there's a split one down there, and you can see this thing is just kind of loaded up. And I'm used to citrus being loaded up, but we rehabbed this tree in the past year. So I've mentioned this in previous tours. This was the tree that when we moved here, there was no fruit on it for an entire year. So we didn't know what kind of citrus tree it was. We were hoping it wasn't a grapefruit because we're not huge fans of grapefruit. And we were honestly just not sure. We thought maybe we should just cut it down, cut our losses, and maybe replace it with something that we knew we liked, like a Satsuma or something like that. But then in the middle of winter, I think it was close to Christmas, we found one lone random navel orange in the middle of this tree. And it looked like it could have been thrown in the tree. Like it wasn't attached or anything at that point. But it was really good. And so we decided we'd give this tree one more year. We really babied it and tried to bring it back to life, cut a bunch of like the bad parts out of it. And it worked out really well. So this thing has been really fruitful. And we do want to come over here and just kind of like take a few of these fruits off just because there's a lot. And like I said, we want to give it kind of like a better chance of getting healthy, especially now that we saw some of the fruit was splitting. But yeah, really happy with how this tree is progressing, and I'm really excited to actually try the fruit on it this year. This is a clementine tree. The fruit on this is really, really small. Oh, we have some splitting here too. So yeah, we probably need to thin this out too. The fruit was small last year also, but this one I think is just a little too loaded up. So we'll take some of these off too. Okay, now we are headed to the back of the garden where things get really fun. So this is the very, very back of our garden, the back of our yard. We had a bunch of tomatoes growing along this trellis. We took all of them out because we wanted to be able to clean up back here. This whole grassy area was wood chipped. We're going to tarp it and then re-wood chip it before next year, hopefully, is our plan. We'll see what we get to. But yeah, so this basil plant, we're gonna harvest and make some pesto off of this because it's still good. It's not flowering too hard. And then, this is cool. So over here, these are the Super Sweet 100 cherry tomatoes that we had, and we're still getting a ton of fruit off of these, which is really exciting. I actually came through and harvested everything that was even remotely red, I think 3 days ago, and it's loaded up again. So this is really nice. So I'm back behind this trellis now. The thing about these plants is we were gonna actually take them out, and I said that in like a previous video and someone was like, no, don't take them out, share. And the thing was is at the time, we were just completely overwhelmed. I was trying to clean up as much of the garden as I could in just like spare time. And so we really thought we would be able to get to this project of tarping all of this sooner than, obviously we still haven't gotten to it. So we just thought that that was going to come up sooner on the list. And so that's why I was like, yeah, I think we're going to take these out in like a day or two. And really these plants are only still here just because I haven't gotten to it yet, which, you know, it's great when you don't get to something and then it's still producing food for you in the meantime. So it's been pretty solid. All right, now on to the beds. And this is where I've been doing the majority of the work. Just to recap for people that are new, we have 3 4x16 foot beds here. We have 3 4x8 foot beds in the middle, and then 3 more 4x16 beds on the other end there. And so starting just in the back of the garden, we took a massive zucchini plant out of here, and I replanted another one that I started and then transplanted, and it's actually doing pretty well. So it's small, but that's okay. This was more of just an experiment. If we get zucchini, great. If we don't, we're good. Oh, I just turned that over. Oh no. So I got to come out here and, ooh, that's a lot of pests. Yeah, that's not great. Oh, it's gross. I haven't really been out here to do things like pest maintenance and stuff like that. We haven't really done any pest maintenance the whole year, and we just got lucky. So yeah, things like that. I might come do something about that. I might not, just because like I said, if we get more zucchini, great. If we don't, I'm okay with that too. More than anything, I don't want that spreading to the new fall stuff that I'm going to put in. Things like that, I kind of tend to just let the pests go. I will, kill caterpillars and things like that if I see them. But for the most part, we don't do a ton as far as like pest management and stuff like that. If we do use something, it'll be organic methods. But even then, I don't really like using any of even the organic stuff. I would just rather not. I like the idea of people just coming out into our garden and being able to pick anything and like eat it on the spot. And so I tend to kind of wait and see if maybe a beneficial insect will come in for things like aphids, which we get a lot of, seeing if ladybugs will come in, for instance. But the other thing too is this year it's just been time and bandwidth, so things like that tend to just kind of be what they are for this year. So we'll see if I can get to it, but I don't know. This bed has been mostly cleared out. There's some like straggler peppers in here that have a lot of sun scald, and then there's a ton of grass that needs to come up or needs to come out. But this bed is not going to be used in the fall garden. We're going to tarp this whole thing just because of the amount of grass in here. But you see, we still have some peppers that are flowering, which is really nice. And we have this Thai basil that is beautiful and growing out of the bed, and I kind of love it. It was competing with 3 gigantic okra plants, or 4, I should say, 4 okra plants that we had back here. And so I think it just kind of got pushed out a little bit to get some sun, but this is really beautiful. Then we have some eggplants that are still flowering and producing fruit. Oh, it looks like there's an eggplant down here actually. I just saw something move. Oh, it's a roly-poly. That's okay. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna come and get that just because it's on the ground. Yeah, still producing food. And then we have a couple more peppers and then a couple more eggplants. I love eggplant plants. Like, they're so velvety and soft. It's really pretty. And they're purple, which, I'm a sucker for anything purple. Look at that. And then in the front of this bed, oh, what is this? That's a lot of, this is a bunch of cucumbers. So there was a plant here that, there was fruit that rotted, and I cleaned up some of it, but you can see there's still like seeds underneath there. This is a bunch of Armenian cucumbers that just came up, so that's nice. And then I replanted another one just to see if we would get cucumbers. I think I put this out way too late, but so I don't think it's gonna do anything, but that's okay. Oh, that's cool. We got another pumpkin. I didn't know that was there. That's awesome. So it is way too late in the season. I don't think that pumpkin is gonna ripen. Definitely not before Halloween, because Halloween's like a couple weeks from now. But that's awesome. I didn't know that was there. So I might leave it and see if it ripens before our first frost, maybe. And we might get another sugar pie pumpkin for pie and stuff. You can see on this plant there's lots of buggies and things like that too. It's pretty, all of this is pretty well covered at this point. So on this bed, these are straw flowers that I haven't taken out yet. These are all going to come out, I don't know, I want to say soon, but maybe I'll actually just leave them till the first frost. This is my problem with gardening, and you will have noticed this about me if you've watched a couple of my videos. I'm very indecisive. So I'll be like, yeah, we're going to do this, and then, in the next breath, change my mind. That's kind of how I garden. I don't know. Does anyone else do that? Do they have trouble just deciding what to do next in their garden and when to take things out and when to leave them? Because I just see the pros and cons for both. Like, I could take these out because, some of them are fuzzy and spreading seeds all over the place, but then I'm like, yeah, but they're also still really pretty and adding color, so maybe they'll stay until they die on their own. I don't know. Anyway, tell me if you're like that too, if you have trouble deciding. Yeah, here's more of those straw flowers. I am really glad that I decided to put these straw flowers and like a zinnia in between these cattle panels here, because I put these panels up and then I realized that I created a dead zone where it wouldn't make sense to harvest anything because it'd be behind all of these other plants. And I had cucumbers here earlier this year, and so you wouldn't have been able to get to whatever was back there. And so I'm really glad that I decided to just put flowers back there that I could just leave. I think that worked out really well. And My plan was to move one of these panels so that I didn't have that dead zone again next year. But yeah, again, with me being indecisive, we'll see what I actually end up doing because I also kind of like just having flowers poking out on both sides there. And then here on this trellis, I planted a bunch of beans, and they might not do anything because they just went in like a couple weeks ago, but those are there, so we'll see what if they do anything. And then this is my best patch of peppers here. These plants are all bushy and beautiful. And these are habanadas. So these are really good. They're like sweet versions of a habanero, and they turn orange. Let me see if I can have, oh, here we go. So there's some down here. So this is a ripe one. They get this nice pretty orange color. They're super sweet and tropical tasting, and we really love putting these in like chilies and stuff like that because we like sweet chili. And then I have some sweet bonnets over here. Same deal. It's kind of like a non-spicy version of a Scotch bonnet. The seeds have a little bit of kick to them sometimes, but it's really not that bad considering what a Scotch bonnet is. Yeah, these plants have fallen and grown all out into the walkway. At this point, they're too heavy for me to put back in the bed, so I just kind of leave them. And then there's like some Italians here. Yeah, this was a great little pepper section. Over here is where I took out noodle beans. I had a really big noodle bean arch that was on both sides of this pathway here. Took both of those out. And down here, I planted, I don't remember what I planted. This kind of looks pumpkin-y. Oh, here we go. By looking at this fruit, I would say this is either a honey nut or one of the butternuts that never did anything, but it's looking pretty healthy now. It goes all the way over here, so I think I'm gonna bring this back over to this trellis and see if it'll go up. Yeah, this is a really healthy plant, actually. Oh, and I see it's wrapped itself around a habanada. That's okay. All my plants have to learn to be neighbors in my garden because I plant everything so close together. I like everything growing together. This is another habanada. The fruit's a little smaller on this one, but still, there's a lot of fruit on this. Oh, wow. Yeah, this thing is loaded up. So there's a lot on that plant. And then this is some of our Blue Lake pole beans. We've gotten a lot of beans off of this, and it looks like this one still has a few more coming off up there. And then over on that side. So these pole beans, specifically in this arch, they all took a really long time to get going. At the beginning of the season, I planted these, and they looked really sick. They didn't do anything, and they just took a long time. I want to say they finally started producing maybe last month, and we've gotten a ton of beans off them since. Like, the plants really recovered, and they look really good now. Because of the heat that we get on this side of the garden, they just didn't do super well. But we have another area that we planted months later, and it just exploded, and that's on the other side of the garden, which I'll show you over there once we get over there. Here's some zinnias that I pruned. I deadheaded this massive plant. It's over there. This thing is gigantic. So I had pruned this a couple weeks ago, and then now it's kind of like falling over and all of that kind of stuff. And so I'm probably going to take this out pretty soon here, just because it's not looking super great anymore. But that's okay. It had a really good season. So you can see this plant. I was going to say it's about my height, and I'm 5'5.5". But the thing is this is actually leaned over. So this plant is taller than me. It's a good 6 feet. And our beds aren't very high. So yeah, we have 6-foot zinnias, which is really awesome. Here's the other side of that zinnia. It's just really, really tall. You can see over there. That is definitely taller than me. And then we had just a bunch of peppers down here. This has been my favorite corner lately. This little mix of the zinnias with this Thai basil. It's just been really beautiful. I love this corner. The bees love this corner too. And over here we have a bunch of Italian peppers. This is an Jaworski pepper. It's a really good red one. We don't have any red ones on here right now. Looks because I picked them all off. Now here's one that's turning red. But yeah, those have been really good. And then we have another habanada here. We got a ladybug. Hi, friend. Down here we took out a huge yellow squash that was taking out that entire walkway on that side and then taking up like a foot on the walkway here. And so I took that out and then I replanted with another just regular green zucchini right there. And you know, if we get something great, if not, that's cool too. And then over here is where all of our hot peppers are. So these are our jalapenos, and we like to wait until they are red. So they'll go from green to kind of like, let me see, this is a good example, kind of like brownish, and then they turn bright red. And so we pick them when they're bright red. Like here's one little guy right here. This one's ready to go. Andrew just prefers them that way. They get a little bit spicier. And since we don't have very many plants, it's nice to get a little bit more bang for your buck. And then over here we have poblanos. These are all really small. So our poblanos, I don't know what it is, but they're all tiny. Look at this. Some of them have started to get a little big, but even then, like that's way smaller than it should be. Here is one of our pumpkin patches. We decided to put in about like 5 different pumpkin plants here in the middle. We had sugar pie on this side, and then we had Howden jack-o'-lantern pumpkins on the other side. And this is just the last of them. So I've pulled maybe 4 or 5 pumpkins out of here already. You can see here's I think this must be one of the Howden pumpkins, still green. There's a little ladybug larva right there. If you've never seen one before. First time I saw that, I didn't know what it was. It was kind of freaky. But yeah, that turns into a ladybug. It's wild. And then, you know, this one, like, this is a sugar pie, and it's supposed to be way bigger than that, but that's all right. We got a couple more, like, stragglers in here. These plants are really, really pest-ridden, and I just kind of left them. So the reason I decided to leave these plants, even though I knew that they were just covered in bugs, they're covered specifically in aphids, and I noticed that there were a lot of ladybugs and a lot of ladybug larvae, which I just showed you one, over here. So even as I'm looking at these plants, like I'm looking at 3 different ladybugs from where I'm standing right now. And I left these, 1, because I still wanted to get the pumpkins, they're almost done, and 2, because I wanted to have this last little habitat for ladybugs, especially since we took out so much of the garden. I wanted them to still have a food source and, you know, a place to live. And so what I've been doing is, as I've been taking out plants, any ladybug larva that I saw, I've been snipping the leaf that it's been on and bringing it over here and just placing it over here so that they can continue to live and have a ton of food over here. So these plants are like really gross. Like some of the under leaves are like black under just because there's so many aphids on them. But there's also a lot of ladybugs over here. Oh, I see like a little cocoon, a ladybug chrysalis cocoon. I don't know what it is when it's ladybugs, but kind of like the middle stage. But yeah, that's what this is. It's just a ladybug hotel at this point. So this is the middle of our garden. These are our 3 4-by-8-foot beds, and you can tell there's nothing really in them right now. So these beds used to be our cut flower garden, and I've since cleaned them all out, and you know, this part of the tour is very quick now. So this bed right here is full of grass, and so we are actually going to tarp this bed. We're not going to use it at all in the fall and winter time. It's just going to get completely tarped so that we can try and kill off some of this grass. And then the middle bed right here, I planted with a bunch of basil plants, and they've been doing really well. They've been in here for probably like a week or so. And then there's room on the end for more snapdragons. Here's a close-up of the basil. This was an experiment to see if we could get more basil for pesto before the cold weather came in and killed these. We may or may not get very much because these are really small still, but that's okay. And then this front bed here, This is where we had all of our snapdragons, and so I kind of like mowed the top of these down. I just kind of cut off the tops to see if we could get another succession of snapdragons, and then I'm going to fill out the rest of this bed with the new snapdragons too. So far it looks like this actually might be working. I mean, like this is new growth right here, and right here, this is new growth. So I don't know if we'll get flowers off of this, but so far it's working and it's really interesting. So that's cool. I think either way, we're going to have snapdragons until the end of eternity in this bed just because so many of them went to seed here. And there's only straw covering the earth here. So we'll see how many pop up when we actually like amend this bed and fill it with more soil and stuff like that, because the seeds are like teeny tiny. So a lot of them might just get buried and not have enough energy to go all the way through, like, you know, a few inches of soil. But I think we're going to be having snapdragons here for a really long time. Okay, now we get to go in the shady part of the garden, which is great. It's not that warm out here, but with this jacket, I am getting a little toasty, so I'm excited to be standing in the shade. These are our other 4x16-foot beds here, and in the back, we had a gigantic, huge zucchini plant that I just took out a couple days ago. So you can see just by the front print, this thing was massive, and then it was also growing like way out here, so it was huge. And the fruit that was left on it was huge. But now we can actually access the whole back of this really awesome noodle bean trellis. And then I found some peppers in here too. So those will need to be harvested. You see the red back there? Those are Italian peppers, so come get those. And then here we have our tomatillo jungle, which is funny because it's only 2 plants. They were 2 little plants that started off like that big, and they've just kind of taken over. All of this out here, all the way back there, all up this trellis now, which they weren't originally growing over there. And then they go into the walkway on that side too. This is all just 2 tomatillo plants. So it's really cool. I've never grown tomatillos before, and we've gotten a lot off of it already. So what we've been doing with these tomatillos is we've been picking them when I'm looking for an example. I don't see one right in front of me. Oh, here we go. So we've been picking them sooner than this. This one's actually pretty old. This paper's turned yellow. Usually when we pick these, the paper outside is still green, but we basically pick them when they start to split open the bottom of their little paper shell. And we've been weighing these because we weigh all of our produce, and we're at 624 pounds of produce so far this year, which is really exciting. Our goal was 400. I want to share because I was really excited about that. But anyway, so we have been weighing these, removing the paper, washing them, and then freezing them. And we're basically saving them so that we can make a huge batch of salsa when we have enough of them. And surprisingly, I thought because these things are covered in tomatillos and they're covered in flowers all the time, I always kind of expect us to be harvesting more at one time. But it's okay. Like the fact that we can still, you know, pick them and freeze them has been great. So we have a couple, I want to say we have maybe like 4 of the gallon Ziploc bags full of these so far, and we're just, you know, continuing to collect them. And then Andrew's gonna make some salsa, which will be pretty cool. And then growing with the tomatillos, you can see I have some zinnias that fell over here. There's some peppers in here. Most of this is just bush beans that I planted because we had a gap in this area and I wanted to fill it with something. You can see now something is starting to eat the bush beans, but we've gotten a lot of food off of these, so I'm okay taking these out now too. I mostly just haven't because they've been mixed in with the tomatillos. And then we have over here more scotch bonnets, or sweet bonnets, I should say. And they're really cute. I think it's really pretty too that they start off as like orange. Look at that. It's really pretty. Here's another thing I always forget to show. This is one of our apple trees. And I always forget to show it because they're not really doing anything and they don't look very good. They've just been kind of sitting here for the past year. So this is a Honeycrisp. This one was already here when we bought the house, so it was in this exact spot. There was another one that we actually moved to part of the garden over here, and then we bought a Gala apple because the two Honeycrisps did not fruit at all last year. And there seemed to be some people that said like you absolutely need a second kind of or a second variety of apple for in order for them to fruit. But then the people at our garden center said like, no, you don't. So anyway, it was very confusing. To be safe, we bought another apple tree and planted it out. None of the apple trees did anything this year. They had like a couple blossoms early on and then they just did nothing. You can see, you know, it's not the healthiest looking tree. We're still learning how to take care of these and we want to focus more on them next year. But yeah, that's something I always forget to show. We have like some blueberry bushes back here too that are mostly buried in a gigantic pumpkin vine right now too. And here's the other side of the bed with the tomatillos in it. So we had an Armenian cucumber growing right here. And then I also apparently put a sugar pie pumpkin on one of these trellises and forgot about it. So here it is, almost ready. And then we have our the back of our very majestic pole bean arch. There were noodle beans in the front half over there where you see a gap. I took those out the other day. And then we just have some straggler peppers down here. This was a pumpkin plant that I took out also the other day because the 3 little sugar pie pumpkins on it were finally ready. So I went ahead and just removed that whole thing. And I'm going to put some peas over there. And then this is a miscellaneous, I think this is an Ajvarski. Those kind of, yeah, it's an Ajvarski pepper. And then there were bush beans that I took out here that were pretty done. Over here is where I had my 2 farmers market tomato varieties. Those were like the 2 plants that I bought. Those were finally done, so we took those out. Oh, yeah, I wanted to show you this. You see this pepper right here that's been eaten? So I mentioned this very briefly in one of my last videos as I was harvesting, that we have something that has been coming in and taking bites out of our ripe peppers and our ripe tomatoes before I pulled the rest of them out. So I collected all of the tomatoes that were even remotely ready as far as like our slicers and stuff like that and brought them in the house and then just took the plants out. But you can see something has been enjoying midnight snacks in our garden. I think it's either a skunk or a possum because that's what our dog has chased off pretty as soon as it gets dark. We hear him barking out here and he's been sprayed by the skunk a few times. And the other night he had a possum pinned on the back fence. These teeth marks just like, we never had this problem before when I knew we had squirrels. And some of the teeth marks, they just like look way too big for a squirrel. So yeah, that's what we're working with right now. But I'm trying to get as much as I can for us. At this point, it's okay. Well, it's not okay. I am annoyed by it. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not annoyed that something is coming out and taking chunks out of all of my ripe peppers. But it is what it is what I'm saying. We're not like, you know, putting out any poison or, you know, traps or anything like that. I'm just trying to take in stuff a little bit earlier. But yeah, this is one that's really sad because I was going to harvest this yesterday. And, you know, now it's compost. But, you know, we still do have other peppers that we can get. Like, I can take this one off. It's still a little green, but that's okay. It's better than not getting anything. And then this eggplant is doing really well. Like, look how pretty that is. I love eggplants. I don't like eating eggplants, but I love growing them. I will grow them forever. Andrew likes eating them, so that's worth it. Let me get through this pepper jungle here. This is a dahlia. Huh. Never flowered or anything, but it's still here, so I'm leaving it. And then over here we had a honey nut. I think oh yeah, we just took the last honey nut off of this, and so I'm gonna pull this plant out. And the reason we took the honey nut off, because it had all these bugs on it And oh, there's some here, so I'm going to show you what they look like. Okay, do you see these like crazy ant-looking things? They were like clustered on one half of the honey nut. It was really freaky, actually. But yeah, whatever those things are, no idea. So we took that last honey nut off, and it didn't look like they were actually affecting the fruit once we pulled it off. There you go. That's a good look at them. But yeah, anybody know what that is? I tried looking it up, and I got some really scary results that were not that. So I stopped looking it up. But yeah, it's just like the weirdest looking bug. So anyway, this plant's gonna come out because there's nothing on it anymore. And then here's the back of the trellis where I took the noodle beans off there. And then we had a yellow squash that I took out weeks ago over here. And here's another really pretty Thai basil. I love those. Then our last bed, we got some peppers on the end here. Some of them have been getting sun scald, so I've been taking them off early. That one looks still pretty good. This guy's red, and so I need to take that off before something comes and eats it. Same with this one, especially since it's so low to the ground. We had a watermelon here early in the season, a yellow watermelon, but I took that out. I gave this basil a haircut, I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and still looking pretty good. It's starting to flower again. Let me see there. So yeah, take that out. This is our tallest, best looking dahlia. These very cute little pink flowers. I've been coming in and deadheading this. It's about that time again. But it had a good run. I think now I feel good about taking this out because it's starting to look more bad than good. But yeah, it was a good experiment. Then we have an amaranth here that is pretty done. Probably gonna have amaranth growing forever and always right here. And then more peppers, more eggplants. These are the last of our zinnias. They were not as sick as everything else, but now that they're starting to kind of like lean into the path and stuff and they're not looking too hot, I'll probably take those out here. But look how pretty that is. This was from the mix pack, so it's just a little bit of everything. Then here's the front of that bed. We just have, more peppers. This is a habanada sweet bonnet, and then we have, those other Italians that we were just looking at. I miss my sunflowers. I had junior sunflowers right there, and I miss them. Andrew just came out with the baby. It is second breakfast time, so I'm going to finish this up while they hang out in the garden, and we'll just run through the rest of this real quick. This was where we had a bunch of Roma tomato plants. We had about 9 plants here. They did so well. We got like over 100 pounds of Roma tomatoes this year, which is amazing. We made a lot of pasta sauce. And then a couple days ago, I planted some shorter variety sugar snap peas here. And none of them have come up yet, but that's okay. It took me a really long time to realize this, and I'm kind of embarrassed about it, but I realized this year that some of my peas that I grow were really short on purpose. So I have like a bunch of different packs of them, and I thought they were all the same. And I was like, why are they so short? Like these things, like I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Turns out they actually are supposed to be that short. So we have some varieties that only grow like 2 to 4 feet tall, and then other ones that grow like, 8 to 10 feet tall. And I didn't realize the packets were different. So I realized that this year. And so now I am planting them on trellises accordingly. So yeah, fun fact, if you also are a person that didn't realize that, I would take a look at your pea plants on the back of the seed packet and just see what it says. And then over here is our second pumpkin patch. So funny thing is, this is actually just one plant. It started right there, and it's grown all the way to the fence, and then actually through the fence on that side, and all the way to the fence and through the fence on that side. And this is a Howden pumpkin. So these guys are the big ones. Oh, hi ladybug larva. There's another little ladybug larva there. But yeah, check that out. And there's 3 of them. We got another one in here. And then another one over there. And it looks like they're almost ready. So I'm really excited about these. I've been anxiously waiting for these pumpkins to be ready. They're still a little bit green, but I think because we're only a couple weeks off of Halloween, I might just like pull them anyway and let them finish ripening. I was gonna say in our house, but really on our front porch. These are front porch size pumpkins. And I think I'll probably pull them this weekend. The plants are looking a little spent too. Same deal here, covered in aphids, covered in ladybug larvae. So I think even when I pull these pumpkins, I'm not going to pull the plants right away, just because I want to allow some of those ladybugs time to finish their life cycle. And we really don't need the space and we don't need to clean it up right away. So I might just leave it until it looks like really, really bad and then clean it up. But yeah, really excited about that guy. And we also haven't weighed any of these just because we've only been weighing the stuff that we have for food. But I think I'm going to take the biggest one and weigh that just because I'm curious to see how much it is. So that is the end of our October garden tour. In the next couple days here, I'm going to start putting our fall stuff in, and I'm really excited to see what this garden looks like in November, especially since Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm really hoping that we'll be able to harvest some stuff for our Thanksgiving meals. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me in my garden today, and I would love to know how your gardens are doing. Whenever people tell me in the comments, like, what's growing really well for them or how their peppers are doing or like any of that, I love it. So please keep those kinds of comments coming. I love, love, love them. I love the gardening community on YouTube. I think it's so fantastic. And I already feel like I'm making friends. So the introvert in me is very happy. So anyway, thank you so much. And until next time, happy growing. Bye.